Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. We are here for Walsall Fan TV Insights. This is another episode in our journey for how players cope with sort of stepping out of the limelight and that sort of thing. We are pleased to have with us Alex Hickman. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Simon.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me on, buddy. I appreciate it.
It's good. It's good. For those that don't know, hang on, I've just got a reminder for this meeting. Come up on me thing. That's very
Schoolboy error, Simon. Turn it off.
Oh, no, actually, it was me lad. Get off. For those that don't know, he came through the youth setup at Walsall, got his first pro contract, and the season July 2010 through to May, June 2011, he had the number 16 shirt, but unfortunately got released at the end of the season without making a first team appearance, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's correct. We played a few friendlies and everything, but got injured for about 4 months that season, and that obviously didn't help matters, but obviously that's no excuse, but it certainly didn't help the case.
It wouldn't help. What was it like coming through the youth setup at Walsall?
I joined when I was 15. My dad sort of didn't let me go to a professional club until I was mid to late teens.
Yeah.
I should have gone to the Wolves about 2 weeks before Walsall offered me a deal. But I was playing on the Sunday and I got concussed, so I couldn't actually go to the Wolves the next day. I was a centre half, right? So you get the odd injury. So I couldn't go to the Wolves, and at the time it was Bill Jones. I don't know if you remember Bill and Mickey Halsall.
Bill,
yeah.
And Mick Halsall, he was a good guy, wasn't he?
Oh, he's a great guy, yeah. And those guys offered me a deal. And without thinking, really, I thought, this is an opportunity. Let's take it. So Graham, I think it was Graham. Was it Graham Jones, under 16s coach, or Graham Biggs? Sorry, Graham Biggs.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Biggsy was under 16s coach, and that was great. I remember one of the first games I went in there. I think I might have been on trial, to be honest. I had one game on trial, and then I got offered a deal.
Yeah.
Sort of my personality at the time, in particular, I was quite. What's the word? I've always been a leader, Simon, and I was a leader then. And I sort of told the lads who had been there 5-6 years, I sort of stamped my authority, or at least tried to, in that first session. And I told some of them what to do and where to go and all this, and they didn't quite like it at the time. So I ruffled a few feathers when I went in there. But Graham Biggs at the time and another coach, I can't remember his name, and Mickey Halsall, they loved it. So. And then after we signed the deal, we played. I think it was every Saturday morning we were playing clubs around the country. Yeah, loved it at the time. Obviously, as you grow older, things change and the way you see things change. But at that time, it was a wonderful time of my life. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
I think getting that first pro contract, that would have been a big family moment, I would think.
Yeah, the pro contract was obviously fantastic. I mean, I signed for Walsall at 15 as a schoolboy, got your apprenticeship and scholarship at 16, and then you sign your professional deal, usually when you're 18.
Yeah.
So, make it. And when you sign that deal, it's, it's not quite, in all fairness, it's not quite what it's made up to be, particularly I'm assuming in the lower leagues. But you have a dream of becoming a footballer, and when that dream turns into a reality, but you start getting paid for it, it quickly becomes. Well, it did for me. It became a job rather than something I actually wanted to do.
Yeah, we had a chat with Ronan Mayer and Shay Willock in the summer, and they were talking about that. It's more of a job. It's more of a job, and I think. Yeah. In not getting into too finer details, but I mean, it's not particularly a well-paid job at that point.
No, I mean, I'll tell you, we were on 130 quid, I think, as first year professionals.
Yeah.
So you earn more money on the dole, probably. So it's certainly not it's not lucrative or anything at that level at all. And you've got to sort of earn the right. You sign your professional deal. That doesn't mean you've made anything at the age of 18. You've got to put the effort in.
Yeah.
So go on, mate.
You've got some competition for first team, haven't you? There, we've got the Ollie Lancashire, Manny Smith, and then in November, Andy Butler turned up.
Yeah.
So I suppose the first team chances were sort of quite limited at that point, I think.
There were, to be fair, and Butts was fantastic. He was a great guy as well. I mean, it was Andy Butler and myself. He used to stay behind in training and used to just ping balls. I think he used me because he saw me, like I was 18. Ollie Lancashire was early 20s, I think, at the time. So it was like me. I was probably fourth in the pecking order then. So me and Andy Butler used to just stay behind. Butler was probably the captain probably at the time. And we used to just ping balls about and he used to help me out quite a lot. So, yeah, I really like Andy Butler, to be fair. But, I mean, that team really struggled, to be honest. I think we were bottom of the league until Dino came in.
Well, they just... Chris Hutchins was the manager to start with, and he lost his job around Christmas time. And then Dean Smith, of course, took over. Did you have much dealings with Chris Hutchins?
Well, yeah, he offered me the deal, my first contract. Gosh, I mean, I've got to be careful. I don't want to drop people in it, and be
don't
rude, and it's not personal and things like that. But there wasn't much coaching, strategy, tactics, things like that. It wasn't fantastic, put it that way.
And Dean Smith, I think Dean Smith, obviously, he's got on to good stuff. So he's done very well for himself, even though he's found himself out of a job again, which is quite often happens with managers.
Yeah.
How'd you get on with Dean then? Was that all right?
Dino was fantastic, mate. I mean, he was our youth team manager after Mick Walsall. I think Mick went on to Wolves, and then Dean come in from the Nike Academy, I think.
Yeah.
And I loved him from day one, to be honest. When he took over the first team role, I was really happy with that. Not because I thought, I'm going to get a game here. It was because, there's someone here who's more personable and, gets on with people. And you saw the results turned around more or less instantly, and we stayed up that year, didn't we?
That's it. We were heading down right before Dino took over.
Yeah, and then they kicked on from there. And obviously Dino's made a cracking career for himself. We don't keep in touch per se, but when he went to the Villa, I dropped him a message and he got back and said, you guys were great in the youth team and whatever. So, yeah, it was just a nice touch, really. He's a good guy.
I wasn't aware of the injury. What was the injury you had, Alex?
It was my knee at the time. I mean, I sit here now and I had to retire at 23. I went into non-league and I had to stop playing at 23 years old, which is 2 years after I left Walsall, I think it was. Maybe 3 years after I left Walsall. I just couldn't carry on. I'm at the point now, I play a lot of squash. But if I have a game of five-a-sides with my mate or anything, I can't walk for 2 or 3 days after. So it's just one of those, yeah.
So I think, where did you, when they told you that they wouldn't be renewing your contract and you were released, sort of, I can imagine from a young lad, you've sort of spent every weekend playing football and that sort of thing. That probably hit you like a steam train, didn't it? Or not?
Yeah, I mean, it did, but I'd spoke to Dino before and got a little bit of a feel for what was going on. And I know Dean wanted to really kick on. If we had gone down that season, I think I'd have probably might have nicked 6-month contract. Whether it would have been the best thing for me or the club is a different question.
Yeah.
But I look back now and it was the best thing that had happened to me. You know what it's like, Simon, in life. Sometimes the worst things are very often, you look back in hindsight, and they're the best things.
That's it.
And that was that in hindsight, that's the case. But at the time, it's very painful, for a lot of young men who have dedicated their life. And one person's opinion can completely annihilate one's self-belief. Their mindset gets completely obliterated, And a lot of people turn to drink and drugs and all this stuff because they don't know what to do their identity's gone.
Well, I think we said before we came on air, now sort of people are very mindful of mental health, but even just 10 years ago, it was people weren't thinking about mental health then. It was like, you're out, mate. Sorry, we don't need you. And
Yeah.
there was no, I think, was it Family Network that saw you, got you through it? Or was it just sort of internally you dealt with it?
That's a good question. I did it on my own. There was no support from the club or anything, in all fairness. Like, it was literally Dino, and he was great, to be fair. He said to me, if I had a daughter, I'd want her to marry somebody like you. That's how he released me. Bless him. So he let me down very softly. It was nice of him.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was nice. But that was literally it. Yeah, the contract runs down a couple of weeks later, and then never hear off any of them again. There's no support. I mean, the PFA are fantastic, to be honest, in some of their support. It wasn't as good then as it is now.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. I mean, I went on a personal training course to do a bit of health coaching and stuff. I did that for 12 months or so, and the PFA were great with that. They help fund a lot of that. But in terms of like mental health and things, as you say, it's a lot more in people's awareness today.
Yeah. Back
then, it was just get on with stuff. And you know what, Simon? I think that there are pros and cons to both sides of that. We can't, baby everybody and everything. We are young men, and we have to get over trials and tribulations in life. Right?
Yeah. It builds character, doesn't it?
Exactly. And this was one of them. For me, I set up my own personal training business, as I mentioned there. Did quite well out of that. And then I just got straight into property investing, really. I built a little network and relationships, and I started doing business. So the pain that I was feeling from property, from the football world, I sort of just used that as fuel to build a business. And every working hour, I just worked, in the business world, really. So some people go the other way, as I said before, and use that pain and sort of fall into that pain, and others tend to use that pain as the motivation to do something different in life. You don't sign a professional football contract without dedication and effort. It's impossible. So it's there. What you learn from doing that, and what you learn from being let down and feeling disappointed and gutted and everything, what you learn from that, you take into the business world or whatever you do in life.
Yeah.
There's no point holding on to it and feeling down about it for too long.
No, I think it's such a difficult route through as well, isn't it? I think the amount of players that sort of get sort of their first pro contract, but going from the youth team to establishing yourself as a first team player, there's so many that sort of fall by the wayside there.
There is. And you know what, Simon? If you're the jump between schoolboy football to scholarship football, and then scholarship football to reserve football, and then reserve football to first team football, the jumps are absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, me included, could not handle the jump up. Not so much technical ability. Listen, this is all opinion. Technical ability, a lot of it is all opinion on who favours you and who doesn't.
Yeah.
But psychologically, I couldn't handle that, the jump, and there was no help. In all fairness, I didn't ask, so there might have been some help, but I wasn't aware of any help, to the point of I actually didn't want to go out and play football. I didn't want. It's not that I pretended to be injured, but I'd start noticing little things in my body that I probably could have played through, but I was like, I probably shouldn't do that. I should, and that was because lack of self-confidence, lack of self-belief, not feeling like I was good enough to be on the pitch. And I think today, especially at the elite level, I'm probably going to say down at the lower leagues as well, in the professional game, there are psychologists and sports therapists and all this now that are around the clubs, because you look at like try and use an example. People like Harry Kane missed the penalty, for example, in the World Cup.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the people around him, however that shows up, if he doesn't have the people around him, that could seriously impact this coming season. Now, fortunately, he's still knocking loads of goals in, so he's obviously he's got good people around him. He's got a good solid head. Yeah. But if the people haven't had that upbringing, if they haven't got that personality type and the therapists around them or whatever, very often they just go by the wayside and they have a negative spiral. You look at Dele Alli and you look at people like that. Like, where are they now?
Yeah. I think for some goalkeepers as well. So like you make a gaff and that's it, and you just never get over it.
100%, and that sticks with people. It doesn't need to be one game. That can be weeks. It can be months. It can go on for years for some people until they sort of click out of it, and then they stop the spiral. But nowadays, as we've said here, it's less of a concern because people have more awareness of what's actually going on. But back when I was in the game, there was nothing like that. It's not an excuse or anything. It's just a basic reality. You look at Paul Merson and guys like that. Obviously, close relation to Walsall as manager. A gambling addict, an alcoholic. These things, now we can watch it on television about how he's helped and everything. But 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there's nothing like that at all.
I think there was an incident with that, wasn't there? With I think it was Paul Gascoigne. I think he'd had a first half. He'd been told to stay off the drink. He'd had a first half and not performed, and his manager gave him a couple of glasses of whiskey at half time, and he says, "Now go out and show what you can do." And he played better on it. But I mean, it's all mad, really. It's so crazy the way that goes.
Yeah. But I mean, Simon, the game has massively changed since I was there. I think Pep Guardiola's influence and some of the foreign influx, and in the lower leagues as well. Like you've got League One and League Two now playing out from the goalkeeper to the centre halves, and I mean when we were,
that does,
oh god, I don't know what it's like down Walsall. I've got to be honest, I haven't been down there for a few years. But if I was that centre half getting the ball there, I probably wouldn't be playing now as well as I wouldn't be playing then, to be honest.
I'd say the knees pretty much put paid to you. I think we see that, don't we? We see old players come back onto the pitch and the knees are all knackered, aren't they?
Well, the human body's not made to do what we do. Is it? It's not made to run around on a football pitch 4 or 5 times a week.
Turns and twists and
The fans very often, I don't think they understand the degree that the toll that it puts on the body. To be honest, when I see guys like Ryan Giggs when he was playing, and I always think of Harry Kane. I don't know why he comes to mind. In terms of injuries, but he never seems to get injured. And the amount of football the guy plays, there are others obviously, but I use him as an example. I just find it fascinating how they can play at that elite level, Champions League and FA Cups, the league, and they don't get injured. It's a credit to the club themselves, the medical staff. Yeah. It's a credit to them because, I mean, when you're growing up as a kid, you can just get away with anything, can't you? You just play and play. As soon as your body starts to mature into adulthood, I got to say 17, 18. I was like, why do I keep getting injured? Every game, there'd be something.
Yeah.
So and when the lads do get injured and they see their teammates going out and performing, it's very difficult to stay motivated.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's just sprung, Martin Kelly. And he's played for Liverpool, and he's gone to Wigan on loan. And his first game, he's torn his ligaments, I think, in his knee. And it's like it's your whole livelihood. Yes, you might still be getting paid, but it's just completely missing the point. Very often some of the fans are like, "Oh, well, he's still getting paid a nice sum of money." Blah, blah. It's beyond that. It's more than that. It's about like your livelihood. It's your dignity. It's it's what you get out of bed for.
Well, Walsall recently, I'd say you're not that close to it at the moment. Connor Wilkinson, he is recovering from an ACL operation. Now, I had an ACL operation, and that sort of put paid to my football. I think he probably had a much better surgeon, but he'd come back and he's sort of trying to regain fitness and that sort of thing. And people looking at him like, oh, he's not his way off the pace. He's not ready for it, sort of thing. And he's clearly not ready for it. And then he has another little injury, which after a major operation like that, the injuries do come. So it must emotionally for him, he must think, is my career over?
Yeah, and that's when people can seriously, psychologically again. That's when they can start to spiral, and the performances drop. The relationships with the close ones, because you generally speaking, you take things out on the people closest to you, don't you? So your relationship starts to falter. And then I think this is what happened with Jadon Sancho, to be honest. And I think that's why Erik ten Hag said, get to the Netherlands and sort yourself out and then come back once you're right. And he's come back and he's firing on all cylinders again.
Yeah,
now, I don't think... I don't think people... I'm not sure really, but Conor Wilkinson has that luxury of being able to go to the Netherlands for a month and work. It just doesn't work like that. But in a smaller context... guys don't need necessarily the physical side of the game is secondary to the mental side of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, how can a team sort of go 13 without a win and then win 5 on the bounce? It's all about morale, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
of course.
It's all that mind game. It's that mind game, and then you get that with the striker. Like one player Walsall have had on loan at the start of the season. He's gone back now to Mansfield, but he scored 15 goals in 30 games, and it was like outstanding performance. And it's just, if you get on a roll and your confidence is up, everything starts going in, doesn't it? And then you get other players, you're expecting them to hit the ground running, and it's that fitness level. There's a player that's on loan at Walsall at the moment, Matt Stevens. He's come back from an ACL. His fitness levels are higher than Conor Wilkinson's at the moment. But getting fit to be able to run on the pitch compared to real match fitness is a completely different world. I think I didn't play at a very competitive level. I was just sort of playing with mates and that sort of stuff. But we played regular. But when you get regular games, suddenly the energy to get there is not in your mind. You're just thinking about the football.
Yeah.
And when you're first getting fit, you're thinking about getting there and the physicality to get there. And is my knee going to be okay? And the slightest twinge, it's like, hang on, I better not go for that challenge. And you end up slowing off and that sort of thing. A fully fit and match fit, everything clicks into place. But getting to that point is going to take time, isn't it?
It is. And if you have a couple of, like a bigger injury and it takes you a couple of months to come back, and then you have a few little niggles, which is probably inevitable most of the time. Your ankles have stopped functioning as they were, and then a few little niggles come. It's, until you go through it as a professional athlete, it's very difficult to actually get it across how difficult it is to handle, to be fair. I look at Daniel Sturridge as well. He's a good example, fantastic football player. But it's as if he doesn't want to be touched on the pitch because he's going to get injured. And to a lesser degree, that's a lot of players. I was one of them. And my whole game was head the ball, be aggressive, tackle. That was me. If I couldn't do that, there's no point in being on the pitch.
No, that's it, yeah. You only need somebody to sort of clash heads with you and you're out the game for concussion for a few weeks, and then next time a head's coming, that's in your head, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, it's just psychology, Simon, and thankfully we have a lot more science behind it all now, and we can. Well, the players' performances should be getting better in theory. Whether they do or not is different, but they should be getting better, and the support around people is getting better. So we're in the right direction.
That's it. That's good. As far as you're concerned, I did say you had a little car, didn't you, at one point? When you started your property, you probably got a much bigger car now. How's that property world doing for you?
It's good, mate. Yeah, been a lucrative 7 or 8 years. And we've just opened another office in Sedgley. So you're more than welcome to come and grab a coffee at any time, mate, if you want to pop down.
I'll have a look. What's the name of it, just for everybody?
Just go local. We've got numerous, but vginvestments.com, localpropertyguys.co.uk if you want to check out the website.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Nice one. Yes, I'll definitely come and get a coffee with you.
More than welcome.
Thanks for coming on. I think as we've sort of touched on there, it's easy from a fan's point of view to just think of them as players rather than as people. And it is a tough game. It is a very tough competitive game. And you'll have some supporters go like, "Oh, they're not trying.
It's ridiculous."
And
it's ridiculous.
And it's like as if like Connor Wilkinson, for example, coming back from ACL, it's like, oh, he's not fit, he's not bothered, he's not going in for the challenges. Well, like, bloody hell, would you?
Yeah. I mean, Simon, I've been on the pitch with some very technically gifted players. And very often, like, very technically gifted and hard work sometimes don't go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I wasn't technically very gifted per se. I had to work on a lot I did to try and maintain that. Yeah. But my work rate and effort often counteracted that. Whereas the technical boys maybe didn't work as hard in training and things. But when you step over that line, I was come through with Jamie Patterson and George Bowman. They were in my year. Will Grigg was in the year above. Darryl Westlake as well.
Darryl, he did well, didn't he?
He did okay, yeah. I think he went up to Kilmarnock. Sheffield United, I think he went up to Kilmarnock for a while. But yeah, and I've never known one. Julian Gray was a fairly technically gifted player when we were there. Everyone gave everything they had. And when I watch players, I don't see anybody not trying. It's just sometimes like people's personalities and stuff. Perhaps they don't. Like a Roy Keane charging around and smashing everybody, he's going to be different to Dimitar Berbatov. Yeah, strolling around the place. But that doesn't mean that there's very different characters on a football pitch. Both of them are putting in a world of effort. It's just how they interact with the game is completely different, you know.
Yeah. Nah, that's good. Right then, we'll leave it there. I'll say, and we'll be doing more of these insights. So I think it's good, and I really appreciate you coming on to sort of share your experiences, so people can see the other side of it. So it's not just about the football. And as you say, when people aren't trying hard and that sort of stuff, it could be that it's just mentally they're not quite on it, and that's probably more likely the case. Because like the amount of times we see, the striker just doesn't take that shot, and it's like they haven't got the confidence to take that shot. Yeah. Because the moment they take a shot and it doesn't hit the target, everybody's sort of like, oh, and all that pressure on, and all that business. But right then, that's good. Thanks for coming on, say Alex. Nice one.
Cheers, Simon. Thanks, mate.
Walsall Fan TV. We talk about the joy and the pain, and we get that in abundance. Maybe too much of one than the other, and I think you know which one it is. Right then, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Walsall Fan TV. Cheers. That's just coming off there now.